Hey everybody, how's it going? Delrith here, bringing you another rapid fire style review, this time for the game Valkyria Chronicles 4. Valkyria Chronicles 4 was both developed and published by good old Sega. For anyone unfamiliar with Valkyria Chronicles, the best way to summarize it is that it's a unique take on an alternate reality JRPG World War II, where units are controlled in turn-based combat through real-time aiming and actions. To anyone unfamiliar with the series, that's going to sound confusing, but it works extremely well in practice. Now before I get started, I want to straight up say that the last Valk game I played was the original, and I didn't have personal experience with 2 or 3. I did, however, play through the first game extensively in and out, and this one being called a sequel to the way the first Valk was designed, I felt right at home. I'm not going to procrastinate. I'm straight up going to say that this game is absolutely fantastic for anyone who loved the original Valkyria Chronicles. Almost every aspect has been improved upon from the original, and it truly does seem like a successor to the original format of Valk 1. Valk 4's story is pretty easy to summarize. You control a group of soldiers from Gallia, the primary country in the other games, and Squad E of the Federation, fighting against the evil Imperial Alliance, which is the primary story focus. It's far less personal than the other games, and you feel like you're less involved with events specifically related to individual characters, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. This timeline runs simultaneously to the one that happens in the original game. I won't go into any specific details, but overall the story is a pretty dang good one, filled with a good amount of emotional events and a few twists along the way that kept me interested throughout. Also, as a side note, almost every soldier you get in the game will be involved in cutscenes and directly involved in the story, so losing them in combat ends up sucking twice as much. This sucks even more when you find out later that if they die in combat, you lose access to the stories and cutscenes related to them, but overall I honestly found this added an awesome tension to everything that I did. Graphically, the game is great for the art style and direction it goes. It looks, well, like an interactive turn-based anime, and does it the best, in my opinion, it can do with the theme. The maps are sprawling in rather large battlefields in most cases, and feel almost identical to how the first game's maps were designed. These battlefields are highly detailed and functional, with almost everything placed on the map serving some sort of tactical advantage or purpose. Not a single one of the battlefield layouts I fought in, and there are dozens, looked awful or even below average, and they all were original and had their own unique look and feel. Characters in Valk 4 are all extremely colorful, as they were in other games, and their personalities definitely match their visual design. I was constantly surprised at how each new recruit I got looked, and it just added to the whole charm of the game. I also have to make mention that the English voice actors for Valk 4 were pretty damn good, and I ended up playing entirely through with them enabled. A lot of times in anime games I'll find it off-putting, but in Valk 4 they were great.
Down, boy. Claude, have you not housebroken your squad?
The hell did you say? I'd appreciate it if you didn't insult my soldiers. They're people, not pets.
Combat mechanics, though, are where Valk 4 really shines to me as a game. You field a team of up to 10 soldiers and vehicles that you select at the beginning of a mission and place on the map that you have access to during your turn. Soldiers are divided into 5 classes: Stormtroopers, which are the assault rifle guys, Snipers, the long-range anti-infantry, Lancers, the anti-tank, Engineers, the ammo and repair guys of course, Scouts, that scout, and a new class to this game, Grenadiers, which function like mobile artillery. You start each turn with a specific amount of control points that can be increased by fielding specific officer characters, and are able to issue a command to 1 unit per point. When you run out of point, it switches to the enemy turn and they get to use theirs. Once you select a unit or vehicle, you're put into a third-person camera sort of thing and able to control them directly, moving them around the map and then taking one primary action. This action can be something like shooting an enemy, which you aim manually for maximum effect, repairing a vehicle, or healing an ally. You can also issue massive orders with your commander that will do things like revive soldiers, buff soldiers, or call in things like artillery. Enemies can't move during your turn, so you can do things like flank and get surprise attacks, but they will definitely shoot at you if you run across their field of vision. Oh yeah, and the bosses in this game have unique abilities and actions that they can take, which will, without a doubt, make you completely swap up your tactics to deal with them. Soldiers and vehicles can also be called upon multiple times with a reduced movement penalty, and if they have ammo, which can allow you to do very strategic things with certain classes in specific orders, like having a tank fire 3 times, switching to an engineer to resupply them, and then having that same tank fire another 3 times. It goes without saying that with limited actions that positioning and tactics are incredibly important, leading this to be an awesome blend of both third-person combat and turn-based strategy, the likes of which I've never played anything close to before. Valk 4 also has a solid equipment and upgrade system. In between missions, you'll be able to visit your headquarters, spending money and experience that you earn throughout your playthrough to improve various different aspects of your army. Infantry classes can be directly leveled up with experience that powers up all of your soldiers of that class, allowing you to pick and choose which specializations you want to focus on. Funds are used to progress down various tech trees related to weapons and armor and vehicles development, something that you'll have to pick and choose from as you have a limited amount of cash throughout the game. I noticed that vehicles will also change in appearance further down the upgrades trees and tech lines, resulting in some pretty awesome visuals late into the game. To me, there was only one downside to Valk 4 as a whole, and that was the pacing of the game's story in between the battles themselves. It uses a chapter scrapbook sort of system, telling the game's story like it's being read from a book, each cutscene being an individual photo in the scrapbook. The cutscenes themselves are all divided and cut up into very brief, small segments instead of one continuous chunk in between missions, resulting in an extremely long time in between, well, actually playing and doing the missions themselves. There were times, even though I appreciated a good amount of the exposition and dialogue, that I became incredibly bored and frustrated with the pacing, spending up to 30 minutes just listening to chunk after chunk of characters talking and doing random things, when I honestly just wanted to get back to the fighting. It kinda removed the sense of urgency. A good amount of it seemed entirely pointless, and I would say for the first half of the game I definitely spent more time listening to people talk than actually fighting in the war. Overall, I have to say without a doubt that Valkyria Chronicles 4 is the best sequel of the first game so far, and if you've played any of them, that you pick it up as soon as you can and give it a shot. For newcomers of the Valkyria Chronicles franchise, this game would also be a great starting point. It does a fantastic job of setting up the universe and explaining itself in a way that is more than understandable if you don't have any prior knowledge of what's going on. All in all, I'm going to give Valkyria Chronicles 4 an extremely high 9 out of 10, a game that I enjoyed immensely and will most likely be playing through a second time in the near future. Anyway guys, that's it for this rapid fire style review. If you liked the video, do me a favor and support the channel by clicking that subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, click that bell to make sure you get notifications when Joe posts new videos. Thanks for watching, and until the next review, this is Delrith. I'll be seeing ya.